We're in the Torres Straits and take a look at Thursday Island, show what's available for cruisers on Horn Island, then explain what we need to consider passage planning our 6-day sail to Indonesia. Then it's checkout time. We're Aussies Rob and Karen, who took early retirement in 2010 to sail the world. Join us on the 42-foot ketch Our Dreamtime as we strive to make the most of every minute of every single day. Welcome to Series 3, up, around and into Indo.
Well, you can now see behind us how many boats have arrived, and that's just half of the fleet. The rest of the fleet are in front of us. We arrived in and sort of anchored right in the middle, took up the best spot we could, obviously, because we were here first, and now all of these boats have arrived in.
We made a few trips across to Thursday Island to take in some of the sights, normally by ferry, but also in the dinghy one fine day. The Green Hill Fort complex sits atop the island's summit. It was constructed over 3 years from 1891 as Australia's front line of defence in the north. During World War II, it served as a signals and wireless station, as the main defence effort was centred on Horn Island and its airstrip. Green Hill's underground bunker now houses an excellent military museum, while the views over the islands make it well worth a visit. Back there, that's the west. There's Friday Island behind us, and that's the way we're going to sail out of here to head for Indonesia. It's been great to come up and have a look, but we just can't wait.
Yeah, we can't wait to be out of here. Let me tell you, just sitting waiting is just the anticipation. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Every time that we look at the weather, let's go.
Yeah, we've got a couple of things to do though. Our wind instrument is, the masthead unit has died, so
yes.
We've got one on the way from Brisbane. So we really do need to fit that before we go. And as soon as that's done, we'll be looking for the first available weather window, and it will be westward ho!
Westward, then northward.
Another good stop is the Gab Tachui Cultural Centre with its galleries and regular cultural performances.
In the early 1900s, the Japanese arrived here for the pearling industry, and with them they brought a very special plant, the tamarind. And the tamarind tree, with its seed pods, gives a very special ingredient. You can find these 2 trees, there's only 2 on the island, you can find these 2 trees in Anzac Park.
Anzac Park is located opposite another significant landmark.
Well, good morning everyone. We are getting organised to put Rob up the mast once again. Our new wind instrument has arrived. So now it's time to get up there, and we're on a short schedule now to get it up. And it's blowing gale here. Well, we actually don't know how it's blowing because we have no wind instrument, but we do know it's blowing. There's a few other boats going up their mast today as well, so it obviously is the day to do it. They're going up, checking rigging. Rob's already done that when he was up last time. But we do need to get this wind instrument on, and we're a little concerned about getting the new cable fed all the way through.
It's a lot breezier today, that's for sure. I've successfully got the old unit off, got the cable pulled up a bit and these wires bared, so we're going to have a go at getting the new one on, I reckon. Well, the new one is on, the cable is down, we've got to connect it at the junction box down inside the salon. It's been as windy as hell up here. I don't know whether you can hear this or not, but gusts easily over 25 knots, so it's been a prick of a job, really. Well, we can tick that one off officially because the wind instrument is now working. We've got wind direction and speed. A very expensive masthead sender unit, and 30 metres of cable that we had to feed down the mast, which is a little bit of a task. But we got it all done. Russell did the final connection with a junction box, and the good news was, bang, we've got it all working, so that's fantastic. We've been going through the weather, talking to Border Force today, and we have a plan. And the plan is, if the weather forecast doesn't change, we're going to clear customs on Friday afternoon, come back to the boat, and the wind's blowing up nicely, of course, as soon as I get the camera out. We've had 25 and 30 knots at times today. So yes, the intention is to clear customs over on Thursday Island on Friday afternoon, and Saturday morning up the anchor and goodbye Australia. The ferry pontoon at Horn Island also doubles as the dinghy dock, so it's really important to tie on the inside of the dock to provide free access to the ferries on the outside. It's been pretty good during our stay here, but with all the fleet now in, it's starting to get a little bit crowded. And when you consider we've got our get together this afternoon and virtually the whole fleet are going to be coming in and tying up their dinghies, it's going to be a little bit like Grand Central Station. There is fresh water available on the dock, which is pretty handy. Some of the cruisers have been making use of it, including us, for just grabbing some fresh for washing clothes. The council provide bins on the dock for yachty's use, making rubbish disposal really easy. Fuel is available on Horn Island at a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week self-serve facility. It's all card paid. While we're here, the diesel price was $2.35 a litre, which is over 20 cents cheaper than across on Thursday Island itself. So not sure why that is, but it is. In one building near the end of the jetty, you'll find the post office, a small supermarket and a cafe.
It's always nice to find a book exchange when you come ashore in these little places. We've certainly added a couple. We haven't taken any because we have plenty on board, and no more books on board, Rob says. There's a good range of fruit and vegetables on the island. This is the first little store that you come to off the jetty, and prices are reasonable for where they are. And if you want to top up on some fresh herbs, they've got it all for you. So it's really convenient.
The fresh bread in the cafe has been particularly good. In addition to the post office cafe convenience store, there's also a larger Ibis supermarket on Horn Island, and even has swap and go gas cylinders. But if you need a gas bottle filled, you need to get that done over on Thursday Island itself. The Ibis has a larger range than the small supermarket, particularly in the areas like frozen goods, ice, bait, even fishing gear. There's a reasonable range of lubricants and all sorts of accessories and tools available as well. So for cruisers, Horn Island's got all of the essentials: the post office, the cafe, the fuel, the supermarket, and the bar. Pub here on Horn Island, it's got nice cold drinks and of course light meals, and it's been a pretty popular gathering spot for all of the cruisers that are here for the rally, including being the location for our farewell get-together. Farewell Australia! Our trip from Horn Island across to Dabu in the Kaikasel Islands in Indonesia is around 693 nautical miles. So there's a little bit of passage planning goes in to decide exactly how we're going to attack that. And there's a number of things we need to take into account. Obviously, the weather is the big one, because our mantra is always safety, comfort and speed. So we'll pick the weather that is safe. The next most important thing is our comfort. We don't want to be out there getting absolutely bashed. And the speed is the least important, So that's 693 mile passage. It's probably going to take us about 6 days. If we had to plan it to be 7, so be it, if it means that the safety and the comfort are coming up first. So how do we go about it? First thing we do is, you've got an idea of when you want to go, and then it's a case of start looking at the weather. But it's not just the weather from Horn Island, Thursday Island, where we're leaving from. We've got to look at it all the way through. And you've also got to look for navigational hazards. Obviously that's things like reefs and shoals, etc. But there's another one when it comes to sailing Indonesia, and that's fishing boats. But that's current AIS showing fishing boats in the area we're headed to. Now if we did a shortest possible course on the run line, we'd cut about 70-80 miles off the course, but we'd be sailing right through the middle of that fleet, and that's not something we want to do. So what we've done is we've planned our route on the iPad with navionics. We've got paper charts, we go through those as well, but for the planning purposes it's very simple on navionics. And literally what I've done is I've put a waypoint at about each 24-hour distance. So we're planning on travelling about 135, 140 nautical miles per day. That's a little bit under 6 knots, and with the wind conditions we're expecting, that should be quite achievable. So literally, we've got a waypoint after the 24-hour mark, 48, 3-day, 4-day, there's another little one there to guide us around a shoal, and then we're up to the approach the Kai Cassel Islands after 5 days, and in theory we're in on the 6th. So what's the weather going to do? There's plenty of places to find weather. Predict wind, of course, is a common source. For this sort of thing I like to use windy.com because it's all animated on a screen and it makes it easy. So down the bottom here I'm putting in Saturday morning 7 AM because that's about when we're planning to leave, and what we're seeing up here is we should have around 15 knots of southeast according to one model. We check another model and it tells us they're suggesting 21 knots. A third model, 21 knots. So we can expect around 20 knots when we're leaving. We've got protected waters first off in the morning, and that's something that our Dreamtime is quite comfortable in, with a 20 knot following breeze. So we'll get out of here on Saturday morning, and the first thing we want to do is have a look at our waypoint, where we're going to be after 24 hours, and looking at that we're going to be somewhere out about here. So we'll move our point to here, and we'll move our timeline to Sunday morning. Okay, the first model's showing 20 knots, second one's showing 18, third one's showing 20, so we can expect it'll still be around that 20 knots at that point. Let's have a look at wave height. 1.5 metres from the first model, 1.2, 1.6, 1.2 to 1.6, let's call it, it's going to be somewhere in that range. And once more, I mean, that's not champagne sailing, but it's certainly very, very safe and not all that uncomfortable on our Dreamtime. So we can live with that. That puts us out there 24 hours, so we've got a good idea of what's happening at that point. Then what we do is, let's have a look 24 hours further along the track. And looking at our waypoint there, we're going to be a little bit, well, roughly about here. So we'll move our point across to there. And the first model is showing us 17 knots, so it's eased off a bit. Next one's 17, 16. So we really want around that 15 to 20 to keep our Dreamtime moving nicely in that 6 knot-ish area. Next thing, of course, we want to know about is wave height. 1.5, 5-second period. So on the run up Cape York, most of the swell we were getting was in the 3 to 4 second range. So 5 seconds the waves are a lot further apart, and that does make them a lot less uncomfortable. 1.3 meters and 1.5. So we can be pretty confident that at that point, after 48 hours, that's what we should have. And literally what we do is we just continue that process up each of the waypoints and move our timeline along. So on Monday morning, we're going to be around halfway through the passage, and the first of our models, ECMWF, is showing us 18 knots. 18 knots for GFS, and Access says 18 knots. When you get 3 models telling you the same thing, you can have reasonable confidence, even though that is a few days out. And of course, anything after about 3-4 days, you start going, well, it's an indication of what could happen. Once again, let's have a look at the waves. 1.7 on the first model, 1.5, 1.7. So yeah, we're further from land, so there's more fetch between the protection of Cape York and where we are out in the middle of the Arafura Sea. We're already past the Gulf of Carpentaria at that point, so you could expect it to be a little bit higher. But that wave period has gone to 6 seconds. So once again, they're further apart, and what you'll find is the boat will ride up and over them. And if you think of a 6 count, it's quite a slow process between each wave. So that should make things better for us. Now, yes, we do continue that process, and we look on to where we'll be at the end of day 4. And it's showing us that the wind is taking a moment to load. But basically, that's now giving us an indication. With our Starlink, we will be updating our weather as we go, and we'll be able to expect to have a good idea of what's going to be happening ahead of us. And if we see some weather that's a bit nasty, well, if we have to, we'll alter our course. Sometimes you might slow down to let it pass before you reach that point, or, you know, try and speed up, try and crank on some more sail, etc. What we're looking at the moment is the wind direction is going to be pretty much astern, probably within 20 degrees of the stern, and we're at this stage thinking what we're going to go with is head sails only. The Genoa, and if it's directly up the stern enough, we will then put the staysail out the other side, holding it out with the boom, a block on the end of the boom, and the Genoa will be poled out. So that's our plan, our basic plan, based on the AIS, trying to stay away from the major shipping lanes and from those fishing boats, because you saw all those fishing boats on AIS, and in Indonesia probably less than 1 out of 10 boats have AIS. So that's just what's showing with the AIS itself. And they're not out there line fishing, they're pulling big long nets, quite often between 2 boats. So it's something you want to try and avoid at all costs. So the AIS we've considered, we've gone right over the charts and checked for any shoals, reefs, that sort of thing. We've taken into consideration the shipping channels and the weather from the point of view of wind direction, wave direction, trying to give us the safest, most comfortable and reasonably speedy passage possible. Now, one of the unique features of Torres Strait is the tidal runs, and it becomes a big factor in our passage planning because they can be as much as 8 knots in places. I mean, our Dreamtime motor's at 6, so we'd be going backwards by 2. We've got to get the tides right. And there's a lot of idiosyncrasies here around particular channels and things that even the locals say sometimes it's a case of you just got to wait and see what you get. But overall, what we can plan for is a making tide at this time having a east to west flow. And we've checked all of that out. We are leaving pretty close to the low on Saturday morning. So at that point, it's slack tide. So we're not going to have a lot of current as we're starting. But as we go through those channels, the current should build and be a favourable current with us. It's going to spit us out into the Gulf of Carpentaria. I mean, we're not aiming to try and get an 8-knot boost. We're happy if we have no counter current. But basically we can expect probably 1 or 2 knots boost through there initially, once the tide really does turn. And as it opens out into the Gulf, it's probably going to maintain that for quite a while. So that's going to help us with our day 1 passage, that's for sure. After that, the currents aren't really that much of a concern. So it's virtually just open water sailing from then on.
Well, good morning everybody. Today is our last day in Australia. Yay! We're actually heading over today to Thursday Island on the ferry to do all of our final bits and pieces of provisioning, picking up some extra medication that we needed on prescription, and checking out. Yep, that's it, checking out. And checking out means we go to Customs, Border Force, the whole lot of them, and we present all of our paperwork to go. They stamp those passports and we're out of here first thing in the morning. Very exciting day. Seriously, an exciting day.
We're all good on the back seat.
Sure? Yep. The naughty ones sit on the back seat.
Yeah. There's 4 of us, so we may as well.
So why are we at the pharmacy, Rob?
To get drugs. Lots of drugs.
I don't think we should say that when we're going into Indo.
We came and collected 6 months supply of all of our medications. So that'll last us right through to Malaysia. And then we'll be looking at the local health system up there.
Four bags and a Coke, $350.
Wow. Porterhouse looks really nice. Get a couple of rum, and slice them up.
No, that's all. Thank you so much. I order, he pays.
So all this beautiful meat.
$122.
What was it, Rob?
$122. Which
Great
is pretty good
service for
value.
you guys. Yeah. Beautiful meat. So this is it. We're loaded up. We've done our last of provisioning. We've bought ourselves a soda stream, seeing our other one died. And we're heading into customs to do the final documentation. And yeah, feel that wind. Can you hear it? It's darn windy.
That's it. Next episode, we're off to Indonesia. Hope you can come for the ride.
In the early 1900s, the Japanese arrived here for the pearling industry.
Just at the...
Find these 2 trees in Anzac Park. In Anzac Park.
So fuel's available on haul. As you can see from the dates we put in our graphics, we're usually a couple of months ahead of the videos in real time. That means right now, we're into Indonesia and off exploring these amazing islands.
If you'd like to see where we are in real time, then please join the Our Dreamtime virtual crew over on Patreon. You can see our spot tracker map and our regular sit-rep videos and our photos.
As always, we'd like to say a huge thank you to everyone who supports these videos by watching, liking, commenting, and especially our virtual crew members on Patreon and Ko-fi. This Dreamtime Sail channel wouldn't exist without your support. If you haven't subscribed yet, please think about doing so. It's absolutely free and helps us more than you can imagine. If you hit the bell button, you'll also be notified every time we release a new video. See you next time.